So you're interested in buying a sailboat. No, I'm not trying to sell you my boat. For those of you who saw my episode last week, you saw that I took Giraffe over to Florida and I put the boat up for sale. Possibly one of the last sunsets for me and Giraffe. But that boat has already sold. That was actually several months ago when I filmed that, so that's not what this video is about. This video is because several people have reached out to me and I've gotten a lot of questions from folks, from viewers, who ask me, to do a video like this and talk about the budget, the expenses, what you need to consider if you're in the market for a sailboat. For example, this person out of Vancouver, Canada, wants to know kind of how to do it on a budget, even if they don't have sort of do-it-yourself skills, and information about buying a boat for someone who maybe is just jumping into it for the first time. So I'm assuming that most of you watching are jumping into it for the first time, and that's why you're watching this video. Now, I want to preface this by saying I'm not an expert boat broker. I only know from my own personal experiences. I have purchased 4 boats in my lifetime. So today we're going to go through a simple checklist that I've created of topics that you want to think about when you're going to search for a boat, right? First is going to be your budget. I'm going to go through these in more detail in a minute, but I'm just going to go through them quickly to tell you what we're going to cover today. First, budget. Second, purpose. Why do you want to buy the boat? What's the purpose that you're going to have with this boat? Third, I made a little checklist here. Third, where and how you want to go about looking for a boat. Fourth would be actually going to see the boats, what you need to look at whenever you're first looking at the boat to see if you're even interested in kind of a second look. Fifth would be, so you're interested and you want to make an offer, so what do you do at that stage? And number 6 is, where do you store the boat? Now, I think that number 6 is actually, it should be number 1. So let's start there, because a lot of people forget that one of the biggest expenses in boat ownership is, where do you store it? Do you store it at a dock, right? Or is it something small enough that you can put it on a trailer and then store it if you have a backyard or something, right? But I'm assuming most of you are looking for sailboats over 25 feet or so. And if so, it's going to be storing that boat in a dock, at a marina, in a boatyard, on a mooring ball. People tend to forget that that is a big expense. Now, a lot of locations don't even have space available. You have to put yourself on a wait list. You have to think in advance. You don't want to buy a boat and then not have a space to store it. Let's talk about some of the pricing for spaces, and then I want to go through those other topics. So everything to do with boating and sailboats and even power boats, it's related to the size of the boat. The cost of a dock space, for example, is going to be in relation to the size of the boat. A lot of times the marinas will do cost per foot. So on average, here in Newport Beach, for example, a 35-foot boat, you may have a slip fee of $800 or more per month. That's $800 or more per month. Now, other places I've lived, for example, in Annapolis, Maryland, I was able to find a slip for like $300 or $400 a month. But it's still, that is a big piece of the budget of where you're going to store the boat. There's also a mooring ball situation, which I actually have here in Newport Beach. Different cities have mooring fields that you can look for where you can find a lot cheaper. There's pros and cons. Where I'm at the mooring ball, I have to paddle out on a paddle board or take a dinghy out to the boat, right? So that's a consideration on a mooring. Pros and cons. Pros, much cheaper than a dock. Cons, you have to do a lot of shuffling to try to get out to the boat. It's different than a dock, where a lot of people like to just go down to the dock and get on the boat, have some cocktails or whatever, enjoy the boat sitting there at the dock. So these are things to consider. That is where to store the boat, which I think is your number 1 thing you need to consider. Second, for the boat itself, what is your budget? There's boats for all budgets. If you do have disposable income and you want a fancy, boat, you're probably going to find a boat broker. You're going to tell them your price range, and it's very much a service where you're almost buying luxury real estate, and so you get treated as such. And you're not going to be as concerned with some of the budget issues that I'm concerned with. So let's talk about kind of the other side of the other 99% of us who can't afford all that, and we are looking for a good deal. We are looking for a budget-friendly option to get out on the water. So what is your budget? Is it under $5,000? 2 of my 4 boats have been under $5,000, and it's not unheard of to actually find a boat at that cost. So is that you find your range. Are you looking for something in the $30,000 to $40,000 range that you want to do a lot of your own fix-it work on? Are you looking for something on the $100,000 range? But I think that also goes into the next topic, which is why do you want to use the boat? For what purpose? Because I will warn you that a lot of boat owners will get excited about this. Oh, I want to own a boat. I want to do all these things. And then the boat ends up sitting at the dock, and you might go visit it, 1 or 2 times a month and take a little harbor cruise. And then you start calculating the budget, and you're like, well, could I have maybe rented a boat 2 times a month for less money than it's going to cost me for the upkeep and the dock space and that kind of thing? So those are real concerns to think about. Are you planning to cruise? Do you want to go cruising long distances? Do you want to take off from the east coast of the U.S., for example, and do winters in the Caribbean, right? You want to go to the Bahamas and further down and spend months on the boat at a time. You're going to want something that's kind of, what I call kind of an RV of boating. It has all the amenities you need, a nice head, a bathroom, a nice galley, kitchen area, enough space if you have 2 or more people, a family, that kind of thing. So you consider all of these things, your purpose. Could you get by with something like a 25-foot boat like I had when I did my how to sail video that was perfectly fine for 2, 3, even 4 people cruising around the bay for afternoon sails and have a couple glasses of wine, that kind of thing. The other thing to consider, and why people like boat ownership, is that you get this access to the ocean views, right? You get to be on the water. Right here where my boat is located, I am not even 150 feet from Balboa Island. The homes right along this shoreline are $4 and $5 million houses because they love the ocean view. They want that ocean view. Guess what? I get the same view from my boat right here. Now, obviously, I don't get the amenities and having an actual house and the square footage, but my point is that's part of the draw to boat ownership. You get to have that little piece of property on the ocean. I have some boat neighbors nearby who they'll come to the boat, a couple. They come to the boat every weekend for like Friday night, and they stay on the boat every Friday. They have high school kids at home. It's kind of their little getaway. It's kind of their condo at the beach where they're able to stay the night on the boat. And so obviously in their case, they needed something that was big enough to have a stateroom. You have a head, you have a little galley area to cook a meal. And so they had to consider that to serve that purpose. I think I've narrowed it down to a couple of categories of why you might want the boat. You want it for kind of the RV lifestyle where you're going to be staying on the boat multiple days per year, per month, where you do need more amenities. Or if you do want something that's on the small side, then I would suggest not getting the RV style boat. I would suggest getting something smaller, cheaper, and it's going to save you a lot of money in the long run. Like my first boat, the 25-foot Capri, $3,500 or maybe $4,000 for that boat. It was small enough that you could put it on a trailer and store it, in your backyard or something. I did not have a trailer, so I had it at the boat dock, and that was, like I said, that was like $300 or $400 a month for that. But that's a great starter boat. It did have a small little cabin if you did want to have that kind of overnight stay. I did take it to Baltimore a couple times, had an overnight, but it's very cramped for that kind of thing. If you think you're going to have something small, but you want maybe the one overnight every once in a while, you might go with something like the 27 to 30 foot range. Once you get above the 30 foot range, it's going to be even more amenities and also the more cost. All right, this I could go on and on and on about the purpose of the boat, right? Because there's infinite numbers of purpose. Local races with a local yacht club, and you want to do the Wednesday night races or whatever. So you need to consider what type of a boat you want because of that purpose, right? So these are things to consider when you're going to buy a boat and make it more, it will feed into your budget and give you a more realistic gauge of what your budget should be. Next topic, where do you look for a boat? This could be anywhere. This could be Craigslist. This could be Facebook Marketplace. You could have a local newspaper that has boat listings. You could look just for signs that say for sale. Go walk around marinas, look for sale signs. You could go to boat yards where they have the boats up on the hard, and you could ask the boat marina manager, is there any boat over that's for sale that's maybe doesn't have a sign on it? Anyone who has abandoned their boat that I could maybe get the owner's number or contact information to find out if they're interested in selling the boat. There's various ways, but probably the most traditional would be something like a boat sale website. What I've looked at most is Yacht World. Right, yachtworld.com is one that has all ranges of prices. Sometimes not the super budget cheap boats. Those are going to be more of the Craigslist, $5,000 and under probably. On Yacht World, probably $10,000 and above or whatever. Aside from the internet and looking around and all that, you're going to have the option to talk to a boat broker. A lot of people do this. Again, this is a little more for the higher end boats, but no, I wouldn't say higher. I'm just used to saying that because I'm going to the very lowest end of the budget is what I've always been at. But even at the $30,000, $40,000 range and above, you're going to have boat brokers involved, where the boat broker has listed the boat, even lower than that. The boat broker is like a real estate agent who has listed the boat for the seller. You can contact various boat brokers, and they can actually search their internal workings of the local community and possibly find boats that fit your budget. Just like asking a realtor to look for homes for you, and that boat broker would take you onto the boat and show you. And then, like I said, there's other cases where if it's a lower price, they're selling it on Craigslist or something, you're going to just talk to the individual boat owner, and they're going to give you the tour of the boat and everything, just because they're just selling it on their own, for sale by owner kind of deal. All right, so that covers where we're going to find a boat. But let's say we've now located a couple of boats that we like, and what do we do next, right? We schedule an appointment to view the boat. You go view it. You're a first-time boat owner, perhaps, and you have no idea what to even look for. Grab a friend that knows more about boats. Find someone at the marina that you've buy them a beer or whatever the week before, and kind of butter them up a little bit, and then say, hey, I'm looking at some boats, would you mind going with me when I'm checking out a boat next week? Or maybe you do know a little bit about boats, so you go and you check out the boat. You meet with the boat owner or the broker. You're going to do an initial kind of walkthrough, making sure everything is working. I actually created a checklist myself. It's kind of lengthy. Actually, what I'll do, I'll make a PDF, and this is not an exhaustive list. This is just something that I created last time I looked at a boat. Goes from anywhere from things you're going to look at from the bottom of the boat, the rudder, making sure the zincs are in good condition. Through holes, the biggest issue with boats are going to be the through holes. Is there too much corrosion? Engine, that is a critical component to inspect any weaknesses in the deck because of any rotted wood or fiberglass. Does the bilge pump work? Automatic bilge pump, all these things, looking for electrical things. So let's say you've looked at the boat, you've looked at a few boats, you really like one in particular, so you want to take it to the next stage. You want to make an offer on the boat, and or you want to have a second viewing. So in most cases you would make an offer, and that offer would be contingent on a survey or some type of inspection, where if there's anything that's major that's found by the survey, you could back out, and you want to make sure that's written into the agreement, is that you still have the ability to back out of the deal based on what the surveyor finds, or for any reason for that matter. Now, I forgot to mention that even before viewing the boat initially, you should ask if they have a recent survey of the boat you can look at. If it's recent and from a credible surveyor, this could eliminate the need to spend your own money on the survey, as I'll talk about next. So you find a boat you like, you make that appointment to do a second viewing, and you're going to either do a survey. Now, it's kind of controversial of whether it's absolutely necessary for a survey every time you buy a boat. Now, my philosophy on this is I'm looking at the cost of the survey versus the cost of the boat. When I bought my boat for $4,000, I did not do a survey, because guess what? A survey will cost you $600 or $700 or more based on the size of the boat. I couldn't justify, paying whatever it was, 20% of the cost of the boat just to do the survey alone. So I think in that case I had a friend go with me as well, and I was on the phone with several people telling here's what I'm finding. They're kind of walking me through things, and ended up buying the boat, and it worked out perfectly fine. But let's say it's something that cost upward of $20,000 or more, and you are not as familiar with boats and you don't know what to look for. I would say definitely hire a surveyor. That surveyor is going to charge you per foot. I think it's like usually $18 to $20 per foot. Turns out to be whatever the math is, but $700 or $800. Let's say it's a 35 or 40 foot boat, and maybe it's going to be $700 or $800 for the survey, and you're going to be paying for this. So that's why you can't just, you're not going to be going around and finding 5 different boats you want to have surveyed. You want to make sure it's the one you really are interested in before you go to this expense. So the surveyor comes along. Now, what is critical if you are a first-time buyer is to watch this surveyor closely and to learn from the surveyor, ask as many questions as possible, because once you do go and do a walk along with the surveyor, when they do the thorough survey and inspection of the boat, you're going to find that it's not rocket science. They're going to be looking for the same things every time. And the good thing about a survey is they're going to give you a report afterwards, usually several pages, usually 30, 40 or more pages of what they found and what they recommend, because they may recommend a certain price discount because the survey has uncovered certain negative things that they feel would warrant a decrease in the price. They may suggest things that you can then take and then know what your first thing on the list is if you do buy the boat, what you want to fix first off. So the survey does have a lot of benefits, especially if you're a first-time boat buyer. I would certainly recommend a survey. In addition, you're probably going to do a sea trial on the boat with the surveyor, and you're also going to likely need to pay the marina to lift the boat out of the water or put the boat in the water for a thorough inspection. While the sea trial itself is included in the price of the survey, there will be an additional cost of a few $100s to the marina if you're going to use the marina boat lift. Plus, a lot of insurance companies will require a survey, so you might want to check that. Check out your insurance company and ask them if they require a survey. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. A lot of times they do, actually. So something else to think about. Okay, so we talked about you've found a boat you like, so the survey comes back and they say, it's a good boat, it's solid, there's a couple of little things you can fix, but it's a solid boat overall. You then finalize the deal and you purchase the boat. Yay, purchase time, pop the champagne, great. Also consider things in your budget, fix-it prices, right? A lot of people have asked me what are the cost of projects, and that's going to depend completely on how much you want to deck out the boat. You want to put the state-of-the-art electronics. On the draft boat, I bought a whole new electronic system for wind speed, depth gauge, speed of the boat, different screens that show this. I think that was around $1,500 for a pretty nice system. Do you want to put radar on the boat? You want to put AIS? All these things are the electronics and different things that are going to cost you several $1,000s as you progress. Other issue, sails. Do you want to make sure to inspect the sails? A surveyor will help you do that. You look at the sails, maybe they're not in great shape, you need to replace them. Can be a couple $1,000s to replace the sails. So look at all this into your budget as well. Is it all cosmetic work? That's just going to be some hard labor on your own part, unless you want to pay someone at the dock or someone at the marina to do the work for you. And that's just whether you have whether that's in your budget, and that's going to be anywhere from $40 an hour, $50 an hour, $60, whatever. I just know that because I've talked to some folks here at the dock that do varnishing and painting and other things that charge $40 to $50 an hour. So put that into your budget as well. Or can you do it yourself, but it's going to be man hours to do. So consider that, because I'll tell you one thing. I've had this boat that I'm in right now, a 1965 Choi Lee, that I've worked on for months, several hours per week. And just because I got a good bargain on the boat, if you would then take into account all the money that I'm essentially spending. Time is money. If I paid myself the amount of money these guys make, $50 an hour for all the work I've done, I mean, the budget and the price of the boat has now gone way up compared to what I bought it for. So consider that in your budget as far as, do you want to buy something that's ready to go out the door and like you won't have to do much at all. But I will tell you that all boats are going to require a certain amount of upkeep and expenses. As they say, boat, bust out another 1,000. I heard one guy tell me recently, bust out another 200,000, B-O-A-T. But I would definitely agree with the bust out another 1,000, because there's a lot of expenses that do go into boats. But if you're really passionate about it and you do know that you're going to get the use out of it, I don't want to discourage you from boat ownership. I just want to kind of give you the reality of what you're facing, what you're up against, to consider before you go out and purchase a boat. So I hope that was helpful. Now, there's tons of other topics we could go through. This was a very quick overview. If you have questions, comment below. I will, if I get enough questions or whatever, I can make another video to try to answer those. I can get someone that I know to join me, maybe for some type of discussion about boat ownership, if it's that big of a topic that you're really interested in. Let me know, but whatever you do, good luck with it. And that's essentially it. Congratulations, you have a boat. See you later. I did want to give you a little update for those of you who have lasted this long. The future of the channel. I want to, like I think I've said before, I want to expand into some other areas, my motorcycle trip, some other areas, but I do not want to neglect or completely eliminate the sailing aspect. So my goal is, like, every other video will be sailing, and then every other video will be something else. Maybe it's a motorcycle trip, maybe it's a home DIY project. My thing is, I love the filmmaking aspect, so I like to have my camera and I like to do things. I like to do the editing. And sometimes I just want to do it on a project that's not boat related, so I want to show that as well. And maybe there's somebody else that's going to benefit from that, that's preparing for a motorcycle trip or doing a home project or whatever. So that's how I'm looking when I'm moving forward with the channel, is kind of making sure I stay focused in the foundation, which is the sailing, which is at least every other video a couple times a month, and then I'm going to do a couple times a month of other material as well. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.